If you want to learn more about minority influence and how it works, you must first understand what happened on August 18, 1920. That was the day the 19th Amendment was ratified, granting women the right to vote. Again, in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed. In 2015, the Supreme Court overturned the ban on same-sex marriage. These are some of the most significant events in American history. These moments introduced more individuals to the concept of the American dream. Of course, these changes did not occur overnight. Years of discrimination preceded these developments. Many people were imprisoned or even killed for exercising their right to protest these concerns and promote equality for everyone. At times in American history, same-sex marriages and women's suffrage appeared inconceivable. So how did this happen? How did the minority opinion, such as the belief that all races deserve equal rights, prevail against the majority at the time? Serge Moscovici, a Romanian-French psychologist, posed himself these questions in the 1960s and 1970s. His minority influence hypothesis demonstrated how a tiny group of individuals might impact the opinions of the masses. And this video focuses on that minority influence and how it compares to prior majority influence theories. Hey everyone, it's Knowle, your gateway to understanding human behavior and emotions. Join us for fascinating insights. Hit subscribe for a part of our journey through the exciting field of psychology. But before I get into minority impact, I believe it is crucial to discuss the theories that came before Moscovici's work. Solomon Asch was a Polish-American psychologist who researched something called conformance. He demonstrated how people were more prone to conform to the dominant perspective in order to fit in, even if truth contradicted it. Individuals gradually conformed. It was more crucial to stick to the plan and not upset anyone. These were crucial research, although this concept dates back to evolutionary psychology. People who lived in smaller communities or tribes had to rely on the rest of the group to provide them with food, housing, and protection. People were protected as long as they belonged to a group that helped them stay safe. Any unpredictable conduct or going against the grain posed a threat to that individual's safety, and we continue to sense the discomfort of being rejected from a group and the perils of isolation. So compliance is the process of adhering to the majority opinion, and normative influence is the influence that the majority exerts over others. However, this film does not end with Asch's views on compliance and experiments on obedience. We are all aware that, while normative influence is significant, it is not the only social impact that exists. If we had simply been convinced by the majority, we would never have been able to pass legislation enabling same-sex weddings or granting ethnic minorities the right to vote. Minority organizations such as the Nazis would never have risen to power. So Moscovici began doing his own experiments. He questioned Asch's beliefs about conformity. Interestingly, Asch agreed that minority influence needed to be investigated. Moscovici discovered that while conformity leads people to believe the majority perspective, another process can also occur. This procedure is known as conversion. A minority can persuade others to adopt their viewpoints. However, as previously said, this process takes time. Often, people silently convert to minority thinking before becoming vocal and proud of their beliefs. It's vital to note that in this video, I'm discussing the psychological process behind this thought. To be effective, a minority movement must have a precise set of traits. Without these features, the movement is likely to fail, with normative influence outweighing minority influence. So let's discuss some of the characteristics of minority influence. Moscovici discovered that a minority group must possess the following qualities or characteristics in order to exert influence over the majority. There are 4 of them. Number 1 is a consistent behavioral style. Number 2 is the opportunity for systematic thought. Flexibility comes in third, followed by identification. So let's discuss behavioral style, specifically consistency and confidence. When a minority opinion enters a discussion, it can be difficult to understand at first. What is their message? What is their goal? What are they really fighting for? Consistent replies to these questions increase the likelihood of conversion. In fact, Moscovici believed that consistency was the most important characteristic of a minority movement. Without consistency, It's easy to write off the movement as disorganized. It's easy to poke holes in the minorities' arguments. See, our brains don't like confusion, and we're not likely to be converted to something that confuses us. So consistency is the most important part of a movement's behavioral style. In order for minority influence to take place, the movement should also be confident, appear to be unbiased, and resist the current movement and its pressure on society. Secondly, we have systematic thinking. So, as you probably know, it's very easy to go along with the majority opinion. There are tons of experiments that prove this. If everyone around you believes that something is true, you're likely not to question it. You may not dig even deeper for the ins and outs of your own opinion because no one is questioning you about your views. This is called superficial thinking. Now, one of the reasons that minority influence takes hold is because it goes beyond superficial thinking. When a minority opinion is introduced, people are more likely to mull it over, to think about it. They may debate the merits of the opinion and how it stacks up to the majority opinion. With a consistent message, it's easier for people to engage in systematic thinking. I know this all seems really complicated, but it's very interesting to me. This type of understanding can help people become more confident in their views. People are more likely to engage in discussions and actually have debates about what they believe if they've gone through the process of systematic thinking. Third, we have something called flexibility. So consistency is not the same as rigidity. In order to influence people, the minority opinion may need to be flexible in what they accept and what others will accept. After all, change in a nation happens usually with small steps. At the time that gay marriage was legalized throughout the United States, over a dozen states had already legalized it. People were still coming around to the idea of same-sex marriage, but all of those smaller conversions were still considered a win. Radical change usually does not happen overnight, especially with nations. If minority movements are willing to be flexible and accept smaller wins, then in the long run, they're more likely to see a big win in the future. Lastly, we have identification. As we see more and more people that identify with siding with the minority, we begin to open up our minds to that opinion. If a random person on the street who didn't look like you or didn't appear to be from your city came up to you with the idea that chewing gum should be illegal, you'd probably write them off as just a weird, strange person on the street. However, if your parents maybe said the same thing, you might at least hear them out. So let's go back to the idea of evolutionary psychology. You should know humans have always had an us versus them mindset. They support and protect the members of their own group. We call them us, while pushing away the people from the other group. We call them them. Even if we don't know someone in our own group, we're still likely to support them because they're part of the us group. We identify with others in many ways. We identify with people of the same sex, the same gender, social class, or even hometown. When those similar people come to us with an opinion or an idea, because of psychology, we are much more likely to hear them out and maybe see their side of it. But this video is coming to an end, so let's wrap it up. These 4 characteristics make it easier for a minority movement to influence others. If you have a wild idea or find yourself wanting to go against the grain, it might be helpful to see how these 4 characteristics can help you change the world. I genuinely hope that you've enjoyed this video about minority influence and the 4 characteristics it takes to influence a movement. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them below. I absolutely love answering questions. I also encourage you to check out the other videos in my social psychology series. I've worked very hard on creating a valuable playlist, and you can learn a little bit more about how the human mind works. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.